am Reverend Carl Yount. I'm the author of Whispering Spirits, Silent Echoes, Deafening Silence, and I've recently had released a book by the title of Shadows to Daylight. These are all books of poetry, and I guess we should get into why poetry. Poetry has been a very strong interest of mine for as long as I can remember. Actually, as long as I remember, I've been interested in wanting to be a writer. In high school, my introduction to poetry actually pushed me into that direction. Quite frankly, due to a condition known as dyslexia, reading for me had always been difficult. I find that the shortness of poetry and its more colorful way of wording and intent tends to be easier for me to follow than standard prose. I do read a lot of other material. I have also a lot of books on tape for other studies and such, studies such as theology, philosophy. Okay, I'm going to read a selection now from Whispering Spirits, the first book that was published. The Poet's Pen. Am I but not a poet's ink flowing from the quill to cover a sheet of ivory canvas and tail? Am I not the writer's quill falling to fill the gap between the hand and the paper beneath? Could it be my creator is but a writer telling the tale of a life, letters drawing pictures and pictures giving me breath? Am I the sum of a pen, the ink my life, the paper my world, the writer my God? And in the turn of a page, am I but a memory in some stranger's mind? For I shall be folded and put away the night, and the dreams tell of a world that I have created, and on the waking dawn I shall write of a person in my pen, and my ink shall draw his portrait, and my paper shall be his world, and he shall tell of his ink and his pen and his world. We all are created by our God's image, and we all have created our God's image. I selected that because it does tell a lot on how the poems that I write are created in the idea that God does not create did not paint a still life portrait. But as far as I can tell, life is an epic poem that God is writing in the process that we live. When I write a poem, I don't know how it's going to end any more than I think that the writer responsible for the writing of my life knows how it's going to end. Sometimes I'm actually quite surprised because I'll find that the ending differs very much from what I thought, even as a writer. When I began the story and the voices started in my mind and leading out through my pen to draw the words that created a world that I hope I'm successfully sharing with you, my readers. Well, I guess at this point, more introduction to who I am, which on the backs of my books are brief bios which explain about my time with the Carney, working as a CNA, my ministry, which led me into studies at the local seminary, a couple of decades of employment at a local pet cemetery where I helped people with the compassion and moving on, finding closure. And these are the sort of things that inspire a lot of the work I do. Poetry uses symbolism and such in order to relay emotion as opposed to prose where you're relaying an idea and a physical movement. Poetry has a flow to it that of being able to take you from place to place in a more, like I say, it's to relay more emotion than it is just to draw a solid image. I'm going to read from Deafening Silence. Phantom in my mind. There is a phantom in my head. He wants me to play with the dead, trying to fill my heart with dread. As into madness his arms I have fled. The phantom's voice echoes like the rain, as he sings with those he has slain, trying to fill my mind with pain, as I turn to dance with those insane. The phantom comes in shadows of the night, as he tries to hide in blinded sight, and fills my dreams with silent fright, as in delusion I fall into flight. The phantom tries to make me stray. He reaches out my dagger to slay. He fills my will with need to lay, as here with madness I will stay. The phantom in my own mind's eye tries to cast me out to die, but madness saves me with a sigh, as into illusion my joy shall fly. I hope that these were poems that you could somehow relate to. The whole idea is, within these books, I do believe everybody can find things that they can relate to. The vision that you draw and the vision I draw, the power with poetry is if 10 different people read the same poem, they may not necessarily get the same image from it, which is where poetry has its power and prose does not. A poem I had written about a cat. A friend of mine's sister, who was a born-again Christian, thought it was about Jesus, and it meant a great deal to her, and she loved it greatly. Did I tell her the truth? No, of course not, because through that vision, she found strength and a meaning that was important to her. And that's what's important, is that you find a strength and meaning in what I write that's important to you, not to someone else, not to me, but to you. All these books are available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble's websites, along with Shadows to Daylight, which is actually a different sort of poetry. It's not the dark stuff of this, but more spiritual. It is Blessings, a couple of short reflections, and some poetries of a lighter nature. These poems tend to be a little bit darker, but still meaningful and enlightening, I hope people find as well. My Facebook, on Facebook, I be found under Reverend Carl Yount, and my website is reverendcarlyount.com. No spaces in the first, no spaces in the second. And I hope that this has helped you greatly. Eurolink has published these poems and have been fantastic to work with throughout the years. And I guess that wraps it up. Have a good evening and God bless.